CHiPs, an iconic American drama series from the late 70s and early 80s, captivated audiences with its exhilarating motorcycle chases, the camaraderie between its lead characters, and the daily adventures of the California Highway Patrol. While the show's on-screen action and drama are fondly remembered by many, there's a treasure trove of behind-the-scene anecdotes, trivia, and fun facts. Join Facts First as we present the two CHiPs co-stars who couldn't stand each other. Real CHP officers. Authenticity was a cornerstone of the CHiPs production. To ensure the portrayal of the work of the CHP was as accurate as possible, the producers made the strategic decision to hire real officers as technical advisors. They provided insights into the daily operations, procedures, and protocols of the patrol. Their influence is evident in various aspects of the show, from the way the officers handled their equipment to the procedures followed during traffic stops and arrests. Officer name origins. The characters John Baker and Frank Poncherello are not just figments of a writer's imagination, but have connections to real-life CHP officers. Larry Wilcox's character John Baker and Erik Estrada's character Frank Poncherello were named after real members of the California Highway Patrol. By grounding main characters in real-life inspirations, it deepened the connection between the fictional world of CHiPs and the real-life challenges and adventures faced by Highway Patrol. Stunt work. One of the standout features of CHiPs was its action sequences, many of which were performed by the actors themselves. Erik Estrada was particularly hands-on, opting to perform many of his stunts. While this brought a level of realism and intensity to the show, it wasn't without risks. Estrada suffered multiple injuries throughout the series due to his commitment to stunt work. One particularly severe motorcycle accident resulted in the actor breaking several bones. Diverse representation. In an era where representation on television was still finding its feet, the character of Frank Poncherello, played by Estrada, was a big step forward. As one of the first positive and recurring portrayals of a Latino officer on television, Ponch broke barriers. His role wasn't relegated to being a sidekick or a stereotype. Instead, he was a co-lead, equally competent and essential to the narrative. For many Latino viewers, seeing someone who looked like them in a starring role, playing a figure of authority and respect, was empowering. Ratings boost and sci-fi elements. Like many TV shows trying to keep things fresh and boost ratings, CHiPs producers were not averse to experimenting. In one notable instance, they chose to tap into the popular sci-fi genre. The show featured episodes that departed from the standard police procedural format to explore themes like UFO sightings. While this creative decision might seem outlandish for a series rooted in the day-to-day of highway patrol officers, it exemplifies the lengths to which producers were willing to go to keep viewer interest. Real locations. One of the distinguishing features of CHiPs was its commitment to authenticity, evident not only in its characters and stories, but also filming locations. The series frequently shot on location, using the sprawling freeways of LA as its backdrop. This decision added an element of realism that a studio lot just couldn't replicate. The on-location filming also provided viewers, especially those not from California, a glimpse into the state's iconic roadways, architecture, and landscapes. Frequent cast changes and Robert Pine's consistency. TV shows often have cast changes, and CHiPs was no exception. Various actors came and went, each leaving their mark. But amidst this revolving door of talent, one actor remained a constant: Robert Pine. Portraying Sergeant Joseph Grittier, Pine was the only cast member to appear in every episode of the series. His character served as a stabilizing force within the show, offering guidance, wisdom, and occasionally disciplinary actions to the often reckless Jon and Ponch. Disco episode. The 70s was the era of disco, and even CHiPs couldn't resist its infectious beat. In a nod to the prevailing cultural phenomenon, the show featured an episode set in a disco. The departure from the usual highway antics was an amusing change of pace, providing viewers with a chance to see their favorite characters in a different light, navigating and dancing in the disco scene. Estrada's strike. Behind the scenes of many beloved television shows often lie tales of contractual disagreements and disputes. CHiPs was no exception. At one point, Erik Estrada, who played Poncherello, found himself in a contractual dispute with the show's producers. This disagreement led him to go on strike. During his absence, the producers brought in Olympic decathlete Bruce Jenner, who later became widely known as Caitlyn Jenner, to fill the void. Jenner played Officer Steve McLeish, a temporary replacement. While Estrada's strike and Jenner's inclusion added a twist to the show's behind-the-scenes narrative, Estrada eventually returned to his iconic role, and the show continued with its beloved duo intact. Guest appearances. CHiPs featured a host of guest appearances throughout its tenure, bringing in celebrities and notable figures from different fields. Some memorable guests included Danny Bonaducci, known for his role in The Partridge Family, and Cassie Yates. These guest appearances added a touch of novelty to specific episodes and often provided viewers with delightful surprises. CHiPs 99. Even after the series ended, the legacy lingered. This lasting impression culminated in a reunion TV movie in 1998 called CHiPs 99. It brought back many of the original cast members and sought to recapture the magic of the original. Set 15 years after the events of the show, CHiPs 99 provided fans with a nostalgic trip down memory lane while updating them on the adventures and lives of their favorite characters. Erik and Larry didn't get along. Success can sometimes breed competition and rivalry. Estrada and Wilcox, being the leading men of CHiPs, were often in the spotlight, which reportedly led to tensions as each actor vied for attention and top billing. It's also said they had contrasting personalities. Estrada was more flamboyant and outgoing. Larry Wilcox was often described as reserved and methodical. These differences sometimes resulted in clashes on set, with the two not always seeing eye to eye on various matters, both professional and personal. When Estrada left the show on strike during his contract dispute, it could have further strained the relationship. Erik once mentioned the two weren't social buddies, but they had a great chemistry. Larry Wilcox has been quoted saying they were just different people and acknowledged the competitive nature of their relationship on set. The cops almost never drew their guns. One of the standout features of CHiPs was the departure from the usual cop show trope of frequent gunfights. Ponch and Jon and their colleagues in the CHP almost never drew their firearms throughout the series. The creators of the show aimed to present a more positive image of police officers and emphasized problem-solving, dialogue, and non-violent resolutions. Erik Estrada became a real cop. The actor, widely recognized for his portrayal of a highway patrol officer, eventually became a real police officer. After his time on the show, he was sworn in as a reserve police officer in various U.S. states and also served as a deputy sheriff in Virginia. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these facts was most surprising to hear? Let us know in the comments section below.